this is Jasper Cole, Hollywood's bad guy, and you're listening to Movie Radio.
It's time for the movie rating. Tonight's victim is actor Jasper Cole, that has played in many, many films and television, such as Training Day, Purge Anarchy, amongst others. Hello.
Hey, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Fantastic, fantastic. So what new projects have we got going this year?
Well, listen, I've got two really exciting films coming out. The first one's called Captured, and it's going to be out top of the year, January 2020, from Green Apple Entertainment. And I play Shelley, sort of the haggard groundskeeper. It's basically a movie about a young rock band, and they're off to make a music video, and they decide to go back to the lead singer's family estate, which has been shut down for reasons you'll find out throughout the movie. But it's really a focus on these five singers, and Brittany Caron plays the lead, Kirsten Zien from Twilight. But yeah, I play Shelley, who's kind of been the keeper of many secrets, and you find out throughout the course of the movie that Shelley may not be who you think he is. I would say he's another one of my creepy characters, but he actually ends up being quite sweet and kind of vulnerable, which I don't get to play that much. I got to work with an amazing director, Joe Arias, which, by the way, he would be a great guest on your show, and all these great young talents. I was by far the old guy on the set, but that was cool. And then later this year, before that, I have another thriller called Model Home, which I just found out they're going to change the name, but I'm not allowed to say what the new name is yet. For now, it's called Model Home, and that's a very unique concept. It's taking the home staging real estate world and taking it to a whole new level, where they actually hire a single mother and her young kid to live in a home while they're trying to sell it. And the mother appears again to be a certain way, and we find out she's got some problems. And I played as a desert rat character named Walker, who kind of stumbles into a bad situation and it gets worse, and I'm sort of taken hostage. It's an amazing concept. I've not seen this concept done before, and it's a first-time director, Patrick Cunningham, but an amazing cast. Monique, Gabriella Kernan from Dark Knight, Kathy Baker, Marie Cheatham, all these amazing actors. That's going to be that's Gravitas Ventures releasing, and that's toward the end of the year. And then I'm hoping to go back to The Rookie on ABC. I debuted last season as Crackhead Fred, and that's amazing. So I'd love to do more episodes of that. You know, I have my ongoing radio podcast, One-on-One with Jasper Cole, on iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker and Spotify and all those places where, like you, I get to sit down and talk to filmmakers and artists and politicians and athletes and all kinds of different people. So keeping pretty busy.
Well, that's fantastic, man. At least that's the best thing you can do, is keep busy, stay happy at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been blessed to have this long career, and I got typecast about 15 years ago, which was a beautiful. Actors say they don't want to get typecast. I always say, no, you want to get typecast because you want to get on that list, you know, where the go-to character, whatever your niche is, you finally get a lane, and you pick a lane and you get known for it. So I've been blessed to sort of be in this bad guy, drug addict, drug dealer, homeless, any variation of that I get to play, and they're really great, fun characters. I love the horror genre in particular, and yeah, I've been blessed. I get to do like studio pictures, something like The Purge, and then I go and do these indie films as well. I just like to work, basically. I don't have a judgment whether the paychecks are different, but the work is the work, regardless.
Now, having to play so many roles between film and television, do you feel that sometimes an actor just needs to keep forward to experience new types of depths of characterization, or do you think at the same time they need to also rediscover for the new discover?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a combination. Like I was saying earlier, you know, I started out my career, I was always sort of like that boyish guy next door, just kind of like I wasn't really leading guy, and I wasn't a hardcore character, and so it wasn't until I turned like 40, older looking, the face changed, and I kind of got one bad part. I was on one bad guy part on Michael Eisner's web series called Prom Queen, and I got to play kind of a creepy stepfather, and it was well received, and I just thought, you know what, let me go with this. So I sort of grew the hair and the beard and changed my entire look, and I really had to sort of reintroduce myself to the industry because I'd already been acting for 17 years, well, let's see, 23 to 40, yeah, about 17 years, and so I had to sort of reintroduce myself, like I'm this character actor, which I kind of always was a character actor trapped inside this kind of boring, you know, look. there was nothing really that made me stand out. Yeah, and so now I've been playing these parts for about 15 years and play this part with a little bit of a different, layer to it maybe, so I'd like to do more comedy, and part of the reason I started my podcast 8 years ago was just to sort of show my real personality, which is a lot lighter and funnier and sarcastic, and that's also what's great about social media is, we can, if we choose to, some actors don't like to really put their real selves out there, but in my case I do it because I like to show that I'm not just this guy that plays all these bad parts. There's more to me. I can be funny, and I'm very political, and I make no apologies for my politics, and I just believe even if you're an actor, you have a right to have an opinion. I don't like actors who tell people how they should think or, who they should vote for and stuff like that. But it's, we're living in this time now where instant media and instant gratification, and, these actors who tell me, I don't really like social media. I'm like, well, you're kind of cutting off, 80% of your fan base. So if you want to do that, that's fine. But I get work now from social media, for instance, through social media. I think it can open a lot of doors. And we were talking off air about how many fans and people connect, people who don't know me, younger people, have an opportunity through social media, YouTube, all these other platforms to get to know who I am. So that's another reason I do my show One-on-One with Jasper Cole.
Everything is so online based that your revenue, your fans are pretty much in the same spot for the most part.
Right, exactly. I just think it's part of the business now. I mean, I look at social media as just another way. It's another part of my job, really. It's another part of being an actor. And, I act, I produce, I also manage talent, so I kind of wear many different hats. I'd love to just only act all the time, but I was never that guy that could just sit by the phone. I like to have control over my career, and so I like all over the place. But it all kind of feeds each other. I think all the time, when I'm producing, it makes me a better actor because then I've been on both sides of the casting. I almost hit the casting couch. Sorry. I didn't mean I'm in the casting room. No casting couches involved. But, when you're an actor, when you get to finally be on the other side and watch, and you realize, this is so not personal. 5 actors can come in and just kill it, just be brilliant, and only one's going to get the part, and it's nothing to do with what you didn't do in the room. So much of that is out of your control. So it's been great. Same with managing other talent. I think that what makes me a good manager is because I'm actually still doing it. I'm actually still acting. There's a lot of managers who used to do it like 20 years ago, but, I can literally say I was just in that room auditioning yesterday, or I know exactly what you're going through. That's kind of been a blessing for me, and I love it. Actors, by nature, we have to be kind of narcissistic because we are the product, and so I like to get out of myself and do these other things, so I cannot just be self-obsessed all day long. And I think when you get back to society, that makes you a better person anyway.
Oh, definitely, man. When we got experience and when recognition is involved between the projects that you do and so forth, and interacting with other actors, even if you don't work with them on set, you have to, motivation and re-evaluation is really important because, and especially with the younger ones, and they don't have no clue.
Yeah.
It's the younger ones.
That's true.
they're just trying to figure out where do they take their own place in the film world, where do they stand, and when they're having to contemplate trying to figure out where they're at, okay, there's nothing wrong with figuring out where you're at, what place is good for you in terms of which type of films or which area in the film industry that fits best for you. But at the same time, you gotta interact with other actors to make sure that you keep that idea that you know exactly where you stand and where you belong in the film industry. It's not like you don't belong at all. You do belong. You just need just that little extra motivation.
And also you want, you start learning to have a team around you of people that you can really trust. And I mean, I'm just fortunate, but I've had the same agent for 25 years now. I mean, sadly, Nancy Titus has passed on, but her daughters run the company now. But I've been with them, since 93, I guess, 94, and same manager for 15 years. Before that, I was with the manager for 20 years. So that's just my personality. I'm kind of loyal, and I don't like change. But it's important that young actors and all actors get people around them. You want people that will tell you the truth, that aren't yes people, and that always have your back. Meaning, if you have a shitty day and you blow an audition, that doesn't change their opinion of you. they know you're talented and you're good. And also, just because if you're not booking every job you go out on, that doesn't mean anything. Because, like I said earlier, booking it that's the icing on the cake. The key is you want to keep getting called back to these same casting people and same producers and directors. And trust me, they don't call you back over and over again if you're not doing a good job. It's just a matter of finding the right part for you. I mean, I've learned that as well. Like, I'm going in tomorrow for the TV show Shameless. That's just an example where I've been in on that show for so many times that I've not booked it. I may or may not eventually, but the same casting director, I've known for years. I've done that with so many TV shows, and maybe you don't book that episode or that show, but then they're doing another show. It could be 4 years later, and they remember you. So I always say to actors, I look at an audition as if I'm shooting the job that day. So like tomorrow when I go in for Shameless, I'm completely off book. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm ready to go. The casting director can give me adjustments in the room just like a director would. I hit it and I leave. And then if I don't get it, then it's sort of like, well, they didn't choose to use my footage. But I just don't think of it as an audition. I think of it as a full-fledged job. And then I just let it go, and you go on to the next one. So that's what works for me. Everybody has to find what works for themselves. And then, of course, nowadays, it's rare that we even go in a room. Everything is self-tapes, which I actually love self-tapes because, one, you don't have to leave your house. But also, you're sending in your best work. The key to self-tapes are you want to make sure you do at least two, maybe three different versions of the scene. So, because you are missing that in-the-room adjustment where the casting director can kind of give you a note, like, Jasper, let's do another take, but make it lighter, or, that is something you're missing by not being in the room. But the truth is, because of time today, most producers don't want to have to hold casting sessions. They can watch 100 tapes on their computer in the time that it takes to hold a session for 10 actors in a casting room. That's a big controversy right now. A lot of people don't like it. Some people love it. But it is definitely the way of the future. I would say everyone get used to the self-tapes because that seems to be the way it's happening. A director wants to see if you can take direction on the spot, so that's what's nice about being in the room because, a lot of actors don't realize that, they get on the set and they're going to change it up on you. And so what you did in your audition, generally speaking, is going to stay the same. They're going to ask you to do it a different way, or sometimes they completely change the lines on the spot and stuff like that. And that's when a director wants to be able to see it. Now, really with film, I still find with film, we get to go in the room a lot more. But with television, because of the time factor and the volume of how much they're shooting, that's a lot of the self-tapes. But yeah, so I like it. I like both. I prefer the self-tapes because I feel like I can put my best work forward. And, there have been times when my agent will send the tape and then the casting director will write back and say, okay, we like that, but can you do it again? So it's kind of like being in the room, She just emails back and says, can you redo it, but do it this way. And I have booked many jobs. I booked The Rookie off a self-tape. And most casting people kind of give it the same credence. I mean, they put the same amount of, they don't deduct you for self-taping. And pretty much on every audition now, it'll say on the schedule, if your client would prefer to self-tape, here are the instructions. But you'll find out, you probably have already heard it, you can ask like 10 people and you'll get various opinions on it. So
when actors are doing these self-tapes or like this new change or whatever, do you think that emotional value has become less significant, or do you think, or even taken for granted for doing this?
Meaning not having that, just not seeing the actors in person, it's becoming sort of like a factory with the tapes.
Yeah, with that, including the actor not really taking it too seriously, like they'll take it for granted, they'll just do it, and then just not actually put their full effort into it.
Well, I mean, hopefully they won't, but I could see what you mean. They don't feel quite the pressure if they're in the room with the caster and or director or producer. But again, they should look at it as like, wow, this was my chance to really shine on my own terms, because also what people have to understand is when we go in the room, the casting director is our friend, because they want to impress their bosses, which are the producers. So they will have you do it over and over again. I mean, if they're getting what they want, they want to send the best take to the producers, because most times now when we go in, it's just the casting director and the camera and someone reading, so it's pretty much like a self-tape. It's just you're not at home. And then they send the tapes off to the producers. So they'll have you keep doing it until they get a good take. They're not going to sit, well, what a lot of people don't know is just because we do the take and the tape doesn't mean the producers ever see it. Because sometimes they'll say to them, put 20 people on tape, but only send me 10 of them. They've got, the casters then got to sit down and pick the 10 that he or she wants to send. But again, as we were saying off air, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't make the 10 that they're sending, as long as you did a good job, the casting director is going to remember you. So if it's a self-tape or if it's in person, just try to do your best every time, and good work gets rewarded eventually. That's true.
Oh, definitely, man. And when it comes to these roles, like whether it's a big role or small role or mediocre role, when actors do mediocre roles, do you think that in the same type of manner, do you think using a mediocre method for a role, do you think it could actually be more of a liability, or do you think it could actually help even if it's a big role for using a mediocre method?
It's just all so subjective, right? So that's why I always say to people, it's really not brain surgery what we're doing, meaning, we're not curing cancer or anything, but I know some actors who just get so worked up and they just really go work themselves into like an anxiety attack over auditions and stuff. And, the bottom line is, like I said, most casting people have said to me, Jasper, I know within 3 seconds of either the person walking in the door or the 3 seconds of the tape whether they're right for the part or not. Whatever they do after that is icing on the cake. But meaning there's just an essence of a person. You either have something as the character or you don't. And most of the time, that's really out of our control. I had this great director on my podcast the other day, Harley Whalen, and he was saying that pretty much 90% of great directing is casting. So if you cast your stuff right in the beginning, you've done 90% of your job. The actors will be so right in the part, they're not going to need a lot of directing. That's where casting is so important. Jury selection, that's why it's so important that, they put so much time and effort in who they dismiss and who they keep. There's a strategy to the whole thing. Whenever I watch these legal shows, I often think of that. I'm always like, okay, it's kind of like with casting. This guy's good, but but do you really want to spend 12 hours a day with him? That's why I tell actors all the time, trust me, it's not about who's the most talented in the room. It's about what's your reputation. And trust and believe, they all call and check on us. The director on my show the other day mentioned one of the first things he does when an actor's been referred to him is he picks up the phone and calls the last 2 or 3 projects they worked on. Hey, how was Jasper to work with? Was he on time? Was he cool? Was he a diva? That kind of stuff. People are doing films all over the country, and it's not just LA or New York. So it's now, I say it's just a small industry. We're all kind of connected, and everyone talks to each other. So you've got to always be on your best. Just don't be rude to anybody. There is something today, in particular, where everyone just wants to be famous, and we know what that's from. Obviously, it's from social media and YouTube, and you can see where some people do become famous online, and they become instant stars with millions of followers and all that stuff. But what we've lost a lot of times now is any sort of reverence for the craft or for the work of acting or for theater. Like, I come from the theater and I did probably 30 plays. I'd love to do 1 play a year, but I don't have the time anymore. But it's just, so my training was theater. I mean, theater's kind of been replaced now by web series and digital online stuff, which is fine, which is great. A lot of actors, young actors, don't really want to put the work into it. They just want to be famous or have a lot of followers or get instant fame, and that's fine. Someone asked me the other day, like, what's my definition of success? And I said, steady employment. For me, it's always been about working consistently and really having the respect of my peers within the industry. I mean, it's great when an audience connects, and I like it that fans may like my work, and I want them to, but what I really want is the respect of my peers, people that I work with, down to the craft service people. I want to be known as that actor that's nice to everybody on the set, because actors we're just one part of the wheel that's putting this together, and it takes a whole village, and we are very replaceable. We can be replaced with a 5-minute phone call. But a lot of those grips and lighting guys and the ones lugging the cables around and doing all the heavy lifting, they can't be replaced as easy on a set. So I wish more actors would learn that they need to just behave themselves, learn their lines, be prepared, what is that old saying? Don't bump into the furniture and stay out of the way, basically, because it's just an amazing place when you go on a set and you see how many people are employed. And if you work on like a network show, there could be like 400 to 500 people that are employed, from the wardrobe to the makeup to the payroll division, to the transportation department. And for actors to think that they're so important, it cracks me up now. I get a kick out of it. I'm just grateful when I'm there, because I know what a crapshoot it is to get a job these days.
Go ahead and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out your current projects, as well as your show that we can check out right now.
My website is jaspercole.com, and that has links to One-on-One with Jasper Cole, my podcast. It has all the archive shows, and then also it has my bio. It has my current demo reels, any press I've done recently, like this interview. Once it's posted, I'll get it up on my website. So that's pretty much everything is contained there. And then on social media, Twitter and Instagram, it's Jasper Cole Says, SAYS, and then I have a fan page on Facebook, and I think that's it.
Very cool, man. And that is actor Jasper Cole.
Thank you, buddy.